Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cheerleaders, welcome to another episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan, Digital Partner Anthony. It's a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, are you ready to do another 3-hour episode of Tatami Talk today?
Well, you need your chance of you doing a 3-hour episode of me just not talking.
I feel bad. You guys think like, oh, Juan was into it. No, I was like listening because I love just hearing you two talk and just go over stuff. It's like you look so happy, he looks so happy. It's like I don't want to ruin their happiness. I just want them to
we were basically nerding out. And I was definitely I mean, he definitely like knew what he was talking about, so it was really good to learn from him. And I think one thing people let's get back into it later, because let's go through the
well, you just want to go stuff. Do you just want to go straight into like viewer questions and stuff about that now?
Okay, yeah. So I think people who listen need to understand the context are like Chris said, there's not just one approach, because we have different skill sets and experiences, so we're going to approach it differently. And also, he's trying to create Olympians, right? Versus for me, my class is mostly, we're going to talk about today. Lately, everyone that's been
trying to keep people in judo.
Yeah, lately people are walking in are like in their 30s and 40s and 50s, and we had a few 60-year-olds walk in and sign up. So I'm dealing with something completely different, and my goals are going to be different from theirs. And one of the key points was in Newaza, how he's really working on just these situations that pop up only in competition, while I'm trying to make them like well-rounded. Like I'm actually trying to teach them to play half guard and not in the same sense, because he, like you said, he's just going to make them hold on to the situation because it occurs most. So we're doing slightly different things, which is fine, and other clubs should also be thinking about that when they listen to that. Other instructors out there who listen to, I'm gonna have to edit this out. How do I word this? Other people who are listening to this who want to apply this to their own coaching needs to put that into context. You can't just copy and paste what we're doing, because I got a lot of messages. I don't know if Chris probably got messages too, but I got a lot of messages, people asking me to share the games I use and the games I use and certain other things. And I'm like, okay, you're missing the point. Like the games come about because I see something that's missing and I want a skill to emerge. So I come up with the ideas for the games. And if you understand that, then yeah, sure. Like you're saying, if you ask me a question, like how do I get people to fight for hip position, for example, this is a very simple one. Then I can tell you, oh, well, I'll use this game, right? But just saying like, hey, give me games. But if your athletes have no problem fighting for hip position and I give you this hip position fighting game, then it's kind of a waste of time. So the things that occur in my class will be different from things that occur in your class, especially once you start dealing with kids. You have to do task simplification instead of that task decomposition and stuff like that. So it's not that simple where you just copy and paste games.
Yeah, I know what we talk about. You have to understand what you're doing for these games. Like, what are these games there for? You're not just doing them to do them. They're there for a reason.
Yeah, I actually also, some of the messages that I got were people sending me their videos of some people try to do this and send me the videos of what they do in class, and then they're like, "Hey, what do you think?" And I was like, "Okay, why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Because I saw
sometimes."
And they're like, "I saw Cal Jones do it." So I was just like, "Okay, but do you know why he's doing it?" Like, I was like, "No, it's developing foot sweeps. I know, but." Yeah, but like, do you understand why he's developing foot sweeps? Why he put the cones there? Why he's having them pull? Like, because if you don't understand that, then how do you know when to stop playing this game? Because your players got that skill already, right? Or how do you add variability and all that stuff? So, yeah, I'm not going to go deeper into it because otherwise it was going to be another hour for that. So definitely recommend reading the books and looking into it. And if you don't understand, reach out to I don't recommend I can try my best to answer the questions, but I'd recommend just like contacting like Rob Gray or even Chris or something, and maybe he'll tell you. So he's a busy man though.
Was there anything else that someone sent you?
I think that was it. It was mostly people asking me about games and sending me examples of their classes, and I'm well like I don't want to come off as like a dick, but that's the reason.
I feel like
I'm doing them a disservice if I just like give them games. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now
like
they're gonna do this thing and it's not working. Like
you're very much on the whole thing. Like, do they understand it? It's not just saying they do it or in this practice. It's not monkey see, monkey do, or
it's
my shadow. Like you want to, do they get why we're doing this and what the development of this program is supposed to be?
Yeah, and it's not just this eco stuff. It's also just training in general. Like people doing certain uchikomi movements or combination patterns, and it's like I saw this on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, but do you know why they're doing it? You know, like people rag on uchikomi all the time until recently. The video got taken down. I'm not going to get into it. But the sensei from Judo Yokohama YouTube channel had a really good video explaining why the Japanese do uchikomi a certain way and swing the leg back and everything. So he explained that. Yet that makes a lot more sense on why the Japanese do the uchikomis a certain way. But here you have people copying and not even understanding why, or they do it wrong because they're not copying the right stuff because they don't see it, and then they're like, well, it's a waste of time. So yeah, you have to understand what you're doing. You can't just look at something and copy and paste and expect the results to happen. So
all right,
that's about it. So
okay, let's go to some more happier news, I guess you say. So upcoming on the 5th is the Paris Paralympics. As you all know, America has 2 judo players going there. We have Miss Garcia and Miss Mutia both competing there. Miss Garcia actually got seated at this tournament, which I think in an interview,
she was a previous medal holder.
Yeah, and she got seated, but she was also surprised, like, oh my God, I'm seated and stuff. That's great for her, you know, fantastic. Yay area all day, every day. So, so it's like, watch this, guys. Watching the blind judo is going to be different because they're going this out of nowhere. Not like out of nowhere, but it's like, remember, they can, it's not fully blind. Remember, there's levels of blindness and stuff, but it's like, they're just going from the feeling into these throws. And to me, it's just really cool to watch. And you can still watch this on your Peacock account. So as long as you have Peacock, you can watch the Paralympics. I know Anthony's going to reactivate his account again to watch.
Yeah, this. on when it starts, because the judo starts on the 5th, so I'm going to wait until then.
The 5th. You're going to wait till
technically not my account, but yeah.
Yeah, so your neighbor's account.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. We're going to watch those matches, probably talk with them as well. Maybe if we can again get one of them on the show to talk to us later about this experience being Paralympians in Paris and stuff, to be great. Other really good judo news. Now, this is for Southern California. Jonathan Yang of the Yang brothers went to compete in the cadets in Peru this past week. Was the first American to get a gold medal, to become a gold medal world champion cadet. Congratulations. I love what this kid's doing, and I want to see what he does in 4 years in the LA Olympics. I expect to see him there. I expect to see him on the team unless something crazy happens in the next 4 years.
Yeah, congratulations. We had a chat about it before, but I really don't keep track of competitive judo that much in general. Olympics and world championships are pretty much the only ones that I really follow now. So and I'm talking about senior, so but still, like, it's really good. Yeah, I expect to see him in the Olympics. It's also like really
he's training with Robert Erickson also. So
yeah,
hopefully this is helping him out, become a better judo player, become a better junior, become a better senior. So by the time he competes there, he'll do well.
Yeah, if anything that comes out of this, I really think like it goes to show how having most of the players from different clubs train at one central spot provides a lot of value. So hopefully people see that.
I want to also give a little shout out to Sophia. She's a Hollywood Judo satellite member. She fights for the Swedish national team. She went 1-1, didn't perform at her best, but, you know, good job going out there and just trying, you know, going out and doing it. Hopefully, maybe we'll see her in the Olympics too in 4 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. So that was big news stuff. Was there anything else you want to talk about, Anthony? Or some stuff that you want to talk about?
So recently we made a couple of short videos, and also one of the ones with the why the morale versus I forgot the guy's name. Laksha? The Georgian. Yeah, we made a video about the score, explaining the scoring rules, and I mentioned it last episode how it did really well. But someone messaged me and was like, "Oh, that's not the one that was controversial." I'm like, "Which one's controversial?" And they're talking about the last one, the last score that happened.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The Tani Otoshi counter with the Kochi.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that controversial?
Yeah,
That
how's
is
that
as
controversial
clear.
in what way?
That is as clear. Apparently, the Japanese social media sphere was complaining about that score and how morale got robbed. I refused to make. So I basically got asked to make a video about that, but I refused to make it because then it would. I think it's so obvious that if you need explained to do, you should just go read the rules.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's the thing that we talked about last episode. You know, when I tried to talk to a dad and coach that didn't understand why their kid got shidoed out 3 shidos in a row. I tried to explain to him, and the dad was just like, screw this. I'm going to go to wrestling instead. We're just stick with wrestling. It's like, if you can't get mad about getting in trouble with the rules if you don't know the rules. Like,
yeah,
you know,
but this is such a clear. It'll be like me explaining why I touched the butt and got a shido. You know, it's
Anthony, I don't know
just
why you're touching butts anyways.
the short version of it is he tried Tani Otoshi and then he got countered with Koji and morale landed on his side while the other guy did not land at a 90-degree angle. So that's basically it. Like I don't need to make a video of that. Just go back and watch it. You're gonna see it. It's very clear. So there, that's one of the videos. So we're gonna make more shorts like that. We just need to find a time. We're gonna do it next Sunday, I think.
Next Sunday, we're gonna try to make the shorts on why certain techniques are dangerous, and this is why they're dangerous, with some interesting props. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, and also we're gonna redo some of the forbidden techniques because they changed. And also we did that during COVID when we recorded outside and the quality was kind of bad. So yeah, we're gonna redo them,
and then in a few months we're gonna have to do a new video on what's illegal and what's not illegal when the IGF decides to change the rules.
Again, the problem is how they enforce it, right? So
exactly.
And then the other thing is Philippe, the Hollywood Judo channel, has been releasing some videos. We talked about it already.
That's not. So if some of you may or may not know, me and Anthony were part of Hollywood Judo. So besides us having Tatami Talk and the Tatami Talk YouTube and stuff, we're also part of the Hollywood Judo YouTube channel. And on there, our instructor, Sensei Philippe, puts out YouTube videos on Tachiwaza, Newaza.
That's his own thing. That's his own thing. Yeah. It's not related to us. Is what you're saying.
It's not related to us, but it's like that's our instructor putting out videos for the Hollywood YouTube channel. Anthony gets thrown in a lot of these videos. He's a great partner. He makes Philippe look amazing with these throws, you know. So Anthony works on that as well, and I talk with Philippe about certain stuff about it. But you know, this is another thing we're working on. So if you're looking for technique videos, just something for you to look at. Okay, it's not us; it's our instructor, Six Dan Sensei Philippe.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up is going to be interconnected to our podcast. And let me think about where to start. A lot of people message me like, why are you not making this kind of content, interviewing these people, or like, why is your title like that? Like, basically said I would drive better engagement if I do certain things, and I'm like,
we gotta use those keywords. Big.
I refuse to make. I'm going to type in judo right now in YouTube.
Okay.
Let's see
what comes up first.
Like, I don't want to make it really obvious that, or make it look like I'm talking shit about certain channels. So, but essentially, it's basically like, oh, don't start judo until you watch this video, or like the 5 things you should know to improve your judo. Like, I'm not gonna make titles like that. I want you to be able to click, like, look at it before you even click to know exactly what you're gonna be watching or viewing. And that obviously is not going to be good for numbers, because people are going to be like, yeah, I don't trust these guys telling me about how to prep for competition, so I'm not going to click that one. Or I don't want to listen to these guys talk about how to start judo when you're older and whatever. So that's fine. I don't want to waste people's time, which is exactly what a lot of these videos are doing, is wasting people's time. So I'm not going to change our titles to be clickbaity, because I think there's only one time we made a clickbait title as a joke.
Did we?
I think so. I can't remember which episode it was, but I was like, oh, this will be funny.
That must have been the big boobs butt bikini one.
But yeah, I just want people to be able to look at it and know exactly what they're getting. So I'm not going to do that. No clickbait stuff. I don't want mostly no negative stuff, and that's just constructive criticism. I don't want to like start drama and be like, well, so and so is wrong because blah 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 blah, and he's dumb. Like, I think it's okay to agree to disagree. Unless it's dangerous, then I think like if someone's showing something dangerous, like one of the safety videos we're gonna come up with soon, I think is gonna indirectly make others look like they're doing it wrong. But I think it's just a different way of interpreting it. Like that's how I interpret how to do something safely. So that's gonna be that, right? So yeah, that's why I'm not gonna do certain things. Because we don't get paid and we don't care about the views. Like I just want to give information out to people who are seeking and want this information, right? And versus there are other people out there who just look at stuff for entertainment, which is fine. And then also people who are looking for views and information that confirm what they want to hear. Kind of like like how to get good in judo in a year, or like improve your osotogari skills with these 3
5
steps.
easy steps.
Yeah, well, and then they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. And versus me telling you, which is why I've been telling our students, is like there's nothing I can tell you that'll be better than if you just stop looking at videos, stop asking me questions, and just doing what I tell you to do.
Yeah, it's like what's the best way to get better at judo? Do judo. That's the best way.
Yeah, and nobody wants to hear that.
And I know people are gonna get that Juan hates BJJ. No, I like BJJ. I appreciate BJJ. What I don't like is seeing BJJ guys teaching you how to do uchimata. That's this ugly, terrible, gonna hurt somebody uchimata or taitoshi. They don't know how to do correctly. And like, no, this is how you do a judo taitoshi. It's like, no, that's how you're gonna break someone's leg. All right, that's not how you do taitoshi.
It's which is really weird because I lurk the BJJ subreddit sometimes, and you see a lot of judo questions being. I'm like, why are you asking this in the BJJ subreddit? Like, it's really freaking weird. But at the same time, people will, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Never mind. But yeah, so I just want people to click on our videos just because they think it's valuable, right? And I'm not going to present the information in a way where you're going to find. I don't care if it's entertaining or not. Unless we're doing like a fun episode, like the trivia episode, but I'm going to present the information in a way that I think will help you. So at least based off of my experience from my learning and my teaching, because, I tell people certain things and then they usually come back like years later and they're like, oh yeah, it makes sense now. I'm like, yes, it does. So yeah. The other part is leave a comment or send us a message. For this is I was considering, because I write a lot of long Reddit comments to respond to some people's technical questions, and it's because I do a lot of research on. I don't want to make it sound like I'm an expert. I'm not. There are certain things in judo that bug me, so I go down a freaking rabbit hole to try and find an answer for. One of the recent ones is Hizaguruma versus Ashiguruma, and versus Sasai, like what the difference is. I was never ever satisfied with the answer of one is on the knee and one's on the shin. So it took me like 3 or 4 years of I got a lot of bad answers too, but I came up with my own, I'll just say it as my own interpretation of it. And why is one on the knee and why one is on the shin? So I wrote this long comment chain about it and explaining it, but it made me think like every time I write something like that, whether having like a blog post or Substack or a newsletter, and that would be where I would put the Ukemi video too. That's what I want to do this next week. This Ukemi video, whether something like that would be of interest to people. So leave a comment, or I'll probably do it anyway. Nobody, because I don't think anyone's gonna leave a comment. Leave a comment if you, or send me some feedback. Maybe I'll put a Google vote form thing in. So I'll
put a Instagram thing, yes or no. Should we do a Substack?
Yeah. So it will just be us post, like probably both of us, mostly me, I assume, because I'm the one who writes a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about
might be very
thoughts.
short.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just it's kind of like a blog. Don't look at it as like an authoritative source, but just like our interpretations and own experiences.
And just remember, like all our stuff is always just our interpretation. It's like my experiences in judo and grappling my entire life, stuff coming from wrestling, BJJ, doing all these things, doing catch, and my interpretation from judo things. Anthony's interpretation from doing his style of grappling and his BJJ and his judo mixing together to what we interpreted the rules are. And we pretty much, we conflict on some stuff, but we have a lot of the same views on things. And me as a competitor, Anthony more as a casual, and just You know, these are just our opinions. These are just our ideas. And I even tell people like in my class, I say, this works for me. I'm just giving you tools. Okay. This might not work for you. This way might work better for you.
Yeah,
Because again, it is always just our opinion and our thoughts.
I'm gonna get more into it when I actually do that He's a Groomer versus Sasai video. But basically the Kodokan's supposed to be the authoritative source on this kind of stuff. But they I'm just gonna outright say it. They do a terrible job, at least in English. I can't speak about whether they have some hidden library of scrolls or some crap like that.
It's underneath the Kodokan. There's a cavern of just books.
But I know people like visited Sensei Lance Gatling and who does study this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of Japanese sources on this kind of stuff. But I base off of my stuff of asking different instructors and then looking at like videos and also looking at old judo books, right? So I get my information from that. And this Kodokan's like releasing these videos. This is what Sasai versus He's a Groomer, what the difference between He's a Groomer and Sasai. And they list out the technical definition and it basically answers nothing. Like it answers nothing about what I wanted to get from it. So that's why I feel like there's a niche for me to put, even if I'm wrong, which might possibly be it. I think there's a different perspective that should be offered here. So
I always love doing the joke, and this is just a joke, guys. I'm not serious about it. I always joke about like when it comes to like Sasai, He's a Groomer was like, so He's a Groomer came because someone went for a Sasai, but they stepped too far and it caught the knee instead of the shin and or the ankle, and like, hey, that worked. Let's keep it. It's like, let me try that.
I just think they came from different Koryu schools, different schools. That I think that's why it's there. But not that I totally agree with the Kodokan's classification of throws the way that they're doing. Just like I talked about with Chris, how it needs a revamp. I really think so, to be updated with modern understandings of sports science and biomechanics. But that's asking too much. It's still interesting though, which is why I'd look into it, because it's interesting. I want to understand why do they classify stuff this way. Yeah. So anything else?
No, I think that's all the news that we wanted to go through before we get to our main topic.
So So to lead to the main topic.
Okay. Anthony's gonna lead to the main topic and see how this goes.
To lead to the main topic. One of the weird things I've been getting a lot of notifications from our YouTube channel about people leaving comments on our episode. What I thought
it's episode 30 something.
Episode 34. This is from 3 years ago, right? It was right after we reopened from COVID lockdowns, I think. But that episode was about starting judo at an older age. So over the last like 6-7 months, I think I kept getting notifications of people leaving comments, and I was just responding it. You know, like YouTube gives you an option of responding within the pop-up, so I never actually had to click on the video. And then I just kept getting comments. So the other day I clicked on it. I'm like, holy crap, that video has like 839 views. So something happened within the last year that I'm not going to say it went viral, because clearly it's not viral with 800 views, but relative to other episodes, it did really well. All of a sudden, like somehow someone found it or linked to somewhere that made it so a lot of people were being able to find it. This is the thing I forgot to talk about. Another reason I don't want to play the algorithm game is because Philippe's videos, this is why I forgot to talk about it, because you took over it.
I'm sorry.
Philippe's videos, whenever you search Kochigari, his videos does not show up. At least when I search for it, it does not show up at all. So, but if you search Tayatoshi, which is one of the new recent videos, has a lot of views and it shows up. So I don't want to I already spent enough time on this stuff, so I don't want to have to play and figure out the algorithm game. So it's just really annoying having to do that. So I guess this is why some people offer to pay someone else to do this kind of stuff, because it's so time consuming. But yeah, the YouTube views went off the charts. The audio remained roughly the same. I'm looking at audio right now, 219. I mean, so it's not. Let's see. Yeah, it was flat. There was a spike in a few months ago, but that was it. So relatively remained flat. So I don't know which one of you guys are sharing this with your friends?
And thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
are you sharing it with the retirement home? Like so
It's on Silver Singles. It's the #1 video on Silver Singles, actually.
yeah. So what prompted this top episode, because we're gonna revisit this topic, because one of the guys, one of the comments basically gave us a lot of insight and stuff, and I was thinking, well, a lot of the stuff we said in that episode, we failed to add some context. And also, since that has happened, we talked about how our dojo has grown essentially like by like over 400%, you know, like so we went from 30.
400%.
Yeah, it's like 400%, right?
I don't think so. I would say
Okay,
it's
300,
at least
300. We went from 30. I can't do math right now. I haven't had my coffee. We went from 30 people to 150, right, in a year. So we actually had older people signed up now. And also, since then, we went from paper to electronic, because I migrated all our payments and membership data to electronic. So I actually can track how many 60, 40, 50-year-olds we have, how many of them dropped out, how many told me that they were moving, which, like, I'm not going to say how, but I confirmed that they moved and weren't just saying
Oh
it.
my God, Anthony, stop stalking our members, please. God, Anthony.
But this is important data, right? So so there's a lot of stuff we need to add context. Our views have changed because we have more students to actually apply these things to. And yeah, that's basically why we're revisiting this topic. So
starting judo at an older age. What I thought was interesting, that when I think of judo at an older age, and this is, I'm gonna go back to, like, I guess the first episode I'm gonna talk about this again. I think of starting judo after 50. But it's funny because some of the comments we got in our video was, oh, I'm 40 and I'm getting the judo. I just turned 41 to get into judo, which is crazy to me because I don't think 40 is that old, because I'm 40 and I'm still at it. I know a lot of 40-year-olds in our class, but we do have some of our older members in their late 40s are starting to feel it now. Like, oh man, father time comes for all of us. So what would you consider, in Anthony, in your opinion, would be like the older age of starting judo from scratch?
I'll answer your question in this way, right? So from our growth from 30 to 150, only about 10 of them were kids. But I'm going to tell you right now, only 10 of them were kids.
We have a terrible, no, our children program is actually great. We have great instructors, but we just cannot build this kids class. I don't know what is about us.
We'll talk about that in a different episode. There's certain things we're going to try out soon. So yeah, and that's a stressful topic because freaking kids. When I say freaking kids, I mean freaking parents. But yeah, so a vast majority of those were adults, and I was looking at the data earlier today, and like over 80% of them were in their 30s or above. Over 80% were 30 and above, and then out of that 80%, there was like probably 50% of that 80% was in their 30s. So when you see people ask me, I'm in my 30s, am I too old to start judo? I'm just going to tell you straight up, no. Like, you're not. 30s is the new 20s. So yeah, so most of the people that stuck around are in their 30s. That's the highest retention rate we have. And I mean, you can think of it as, oh, it's because they're young, or you can just think of it as that's the vast majority of people that are coming to sign up. So either way you interpret it. When you talk about people older, like, we have some 40-year-olds, but the dropout rate on the 40-year-olds are pretty high. I think vast majority of them that came to sign up are actually because their kids do judo and they want to try it themselves. I need to go verify, but there's a lot of them that started judo in their 40s and quit after around 3 months mark. And then we have a few 50-year-olds, but all the 50-year-olds we had, except for one, I'm looking at it right now. We have one that signed up that didn't show up yet. But all the 50-year-olds we have, instead of one, either had previous grappling or some sort of athletic experience. Like, we have one guy who used to play college football, or judo experience, previous grappling, previous athletics experience. So we don't have that many. We only have one. I'm looking at one right now. me look at the ones that dropped out, canceled. Yeah, so the ones that stayed, like 90% of them have previous athletic experience.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the 50-year-olds that came by dropped out. So that's the data I have for our dojo.
Mm-hmm.
There's one special exception. I'm going to take a note so I remember to come back. We need, because he's going to be his own little topic.
Okay. Is it a 6 Dan?
No, it's the guy that takes privates.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so
that one.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, vast majority of 50-year-olds quit. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 60-plus-year-olds, not including Sensei Philippe.
Mm-hmm.
All because Sensei Philippe doesn't actively train anymore, really, because he can't.
Yeah.
And the oldest one we have is 67, who's still training in your class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we only have one of them that's a white belt.
And that's something to say with the 67-year-old, because he trains in my class. My class is kind of intense sometimes.
Yeah. So I guess it goes back to what we said in that previous episode. You haven't heard about it, but if you've been like keeping it in shape and stuff, then you're probably more likely to stay. But if you have been out of shape, have injuries, never done judo before, then this is going to tie into what we say. But like, I don't think our judo club would be for you, because we don't. You looking happy with that? What we said?
No. What I mean is that it's the kind of a thing where I think your class, I seriously think your class is great for casuals, and for like if someone was like older and want to start doing judo, I think your class is great for that. The problem is that once you start getting to my class or Eric's class, and definitely when you start going to Philippe's class, because Philippe can be super intense. We're gonna do like a competition training class, or like super casual. We're just gonna work on technique classes.
It goes back to the previous episode, right? Not the one we recorded, but
not last week's episode.
I'm saying in general, I talked about how I could have made the class more welcoming to beginners, but then they would have to they would have to stick in my class forever. And I don't want to, because we're not making money out of this. We're not some schools that purposely make things easy so you would stay. Because I want to, the whole point of my class is to prepare them for your class, Eric's class, and Philippe's class. So if I make it too easy, then it's not representative of. I feel like I'm lying to them. I basically have to tell them, hey, you're safely taking hard falls, basically, sometimes, and hard falls will happen. And so the 50-year-olds that quit, most of them, the most common one that told me, the most common reason I got was because of back pain and soreness. So a lot of them, most of them have a history of back injury from something else. So I mean, right away, that's not gonna fly, right? So it doesn't matter if you have a history of back injury and then you go to our regular classes, not my beginners class, you're not gonna survive. So that's why I think I said my class wouldn't be for the people that are not in shape. Just going off of the data that I see of people who tend to have previous athletic experience. So it seems like if you were in shape and you've been doing you're exercising, you previously did some sort of sports, then I think the age thing, it's not that important, because it seems like we have these people staying. But it goes back to what I said. We need some sort of other classes for people who are not in this category. Does that make sense? Oh, and our dojo can't do it right now, just because we only have so many resources. We're not for profit. We have limited amount of volunteers. We're having trouble getting volunteers right now for certain things. So the decision is, where do you focus these resources on? Do you focus it on teaching like the kind of judo where you just break fall and no randori, or do you like focus on developing these recreational, not necessarily competitive, but recreationally competitive judokas, right? Yeah. So I think that's where our dojo is focusing on. So I'm not going to allocate resources towards catering to everyone, because it's not possible. Yeah. It's literally not possible. We would have to add another class for these guys.
Well, I know like one of our members that fell out really enjoyed our dojo, liked us all, really enjoyed our classes, but their body just couldn't hold up their things. It's like, I'm just too sore for my age now to continue doing judo. Like, I love your guys' class. I like you guys a lot. It's just my body can't handle it. It's like, man, this is and when I hear that kind of stuff, it always makes me think like, it's like, I wish we had more people that we could have a 50 and over class or a women's only class, or even like, I don't know if I'd do 40. Like I said, I still think 40 is not that old, but that's just going off myself. You know, I don't like, I have shoulder surgery, so I can't do a lot of gomi. I mean, I can't do throwing right now, but I do tons of Newaza, still do all these things. But it's like, man, I wish we had more people that we could trust to have these more classes to get more people in, because I do feel judo is for everybody. I want everybody to get into judo. So I wish we could have a 50 and over class, or just call it a senior class or something, or master's class. And you can just go in there and do uchigomis, do some light Newaza randori. It's funny, Newaza randori seems like anybody can do Newaza randori, it seems. It's when they start to get into Tachiwaza randori, people start getting like, that's where it comes too much.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that's the perfect solution, is if you have your own space and the resources, like the instructor resources, to start a veterans only class where they don't take that many hard falls, or if they do take hard falls, it's only like for like half an hour or 15 minutes, then that'll be really good. And also, now you have to subdivide that class within them into like competitive and non-competitive people. And then competitive people, you would pretty much only focus on like what we would sacrifice throws, like certain like yokogake and stuff like that, right? You focus on stuff that works for their body, plus Newaza transitions that happen in a competition context. But if it's like recreational and you're not competitive, then you could just mostly train Newaza. That's still judo. The reason, I mean, the BJJ has gotten this right? They have tons of old people training from white belt to black belt, which is like over like 10 years for a lot of people at an old age, because Newaza is very friendly to older people. So why not teach Newaza, judo Newaza, like I'm saying, not BJJ Newaza, judo Newaza, like with threats of pins and
threats of pins and arm bars, because there was a rule. Remember the rule, the suggestion that came out that seniors should not be choking each other out. The nature of it.
That's So with threats of pins, and not just train the competitive situations, which is what we talked about with Chris Round, right? And also what most judo clubs do. It's like one person on all fours, the other turn the other person over, other person flat, turn the other person over, start from guard, do this, start from this, do that. Like those are just training like competitive situations versus training the whole Newaza interaction. I mean, dare I say, is going to piss people off, but it's an accurate representation is basically BJJ with judo rules. Like, interpret it how you want, but that's basically what I'm saying. Like that will make it much more friendly to older people to train. Some people disagree because they think like judo is not judo without throws. I'm not saying don't do throws. I'm saying take BJJ's formula of mostly Newaza, but actually include throws, not like pretend throws. Like I'm gonna get so much, not pretend throws, but not the way that BJJ trains it.
Well, it would be more, you have to get a lot more crash pads also, because one, if you have control, you know what you're doing, you can throw someone pretty easily. But if I'm not that old now, I'm not in my 50s or 60s, I don't know how much more muscle control it takes to throw somebody and not have someone bust a hip or something or break an arm. So you have to do more crash pad work, I think, also. This is, again, if you had a seniors only class.
Yeah, and in that episode 34, in the description, I linked videos to the Kodokan High Dan Rank tournament, and I also linked one particular fight where it was a 9-year-old fighting. He's not doing seoinage. He's not doing koga ippon seoinage ippon. Not doing kosei.
He'll dislocate his shoulder. That's why.
Yeah. So if you were to teach competitive old people judo, or like non-competitive, you can teach guard pull, like judo, like Tsunoda style guard pull. You can teach yokogake into like transition. You can teach single leg, again, non-competitive, right? Yeah. Single leg Kuchiki Taioshi, Kibisugaishi into like Newaza transition. Those are stuff that is still judo. It's just adapted for older people. So that is like my view on it now, basically, is, and this is why I appreciate training in BJJ so much, because it makes me realize how different it is. Because in the beginning I was training BJJ to complement my judo, but I realized it's not the same. Like it's become its own thing. Like there's no threats of pin involved. I never deal with guard situations almost in judo, though I still think guard is part of judo, so I should train it. And I also felt like I would have more opportunities to do judo in BJJ, but that almost never happens because they don't train stand-ups, and two, there's not enough room in most BJJ clubs to actually do judo type of throws.
Yeah.
And also I can't trust throwing my partner. So that means I'm not doing judo, I'm doing BJJ. So that's how my view has changed too. But yeah, which leads to the other thing, right? You talked about we need more crash pads, and the one context we didn't add was subfloors. Like you have to have subfloors. If you don't have nice floors, then it's going to be harder, and it's just going to change the amount of throws you can take, like we talked about. Then you just have, again, adjust the way that you teach for people. So let's address some of the context we need to add, right? So we talked about subfloors. We didn't talk about that last time.
All right.
The 78-year-old we talked about that signed up never showed up. Okay. So at the current time, 67 is our oldest let's just say non-black belt member. Okay. That still shows up to training. 78-year-old never show up. The sensei we talked about that is in his 60s that still competes and still trains with like 20-year-olds. He competes and trains with 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
He just got his 6th on, by the way. Like Brian Hershkowitz. Congratulations.
Yay, Brian.
Yeah. He's multiple time.
But this is context also we forgot to put in there. He's been doing judo since he was a child. Yes, he took intermediate breaks, but he's been doing judo like his entire life. So he's used to it. He got that judo body strength already. He's used to getting the impact on the mat.
And he knows how to train smartly.
Yes.
So
very smart.
But that's like the problem is how you can't get a novice 60-year-old who started to get to where he is, basically. You have to somehow handhold them through the safe training procedures. But yeah, another thing I want to talk about is tapping early. I talked about tapping early, but what I forgot to mention is you need the skill to be able to identify when you're caught in a bad position that you're not going to get out. So a beginner's not going to know they're in a bad position until their arm's extended, for example. Or
I got 20-year-olds like that are like, oh, my arm doesn't hurt. Like, no, but your arm's scaring me. Please stop now.
So you need to know when you're basically screwed and you're not getting out, and just tap. So you never ever even get close to those kind of dangerous situations. We talked about like proper strength training. Like I think it's not context, but I think we didn't emphasize how important it is, because as you get older, you lose muscle mass, and also it's harder to gain muscle. But muscle is what helps you from getting injured, because it holds your body together, basically, right? So the younger you are, the better it is for time for you to do strength training to get muscle, because after you get older, it'll be harder to gain it. And once you get muscle, once you get muscle once, and then when you lose it, it's easier to get it back, right? So just do strength training. It's good. We also talked about not having old people do like what everyone else is doing, like burpees and like jumping jacks for warm-ups and like crocodiles and crap like that. So we talked about in a previous episode before about scalability of training. So I think you need to introduce more scalable stuff. Like instead of doing 100 uchikomis, do 1 minute uchikomis at your own pace as fast as you can, right? So that way older people can have their own way of training to the limit, right? Their limit, and everyone's limit's different. So scalability is a very important thing.
When it comes to the scale thing, it's one of those things where I tell pretty much anyone that if anything that I teach you guys or have you guys do is too hard for you, let me know. And especially for our older members, that's kind of like why the older member that comes to my class comes late. Because I told them a long time ago, like, hey, I know my warm-ups are hard for a lot of people. It's too much for you. It's okay. But it's just about, like you said, they have to know.
It's an ego thing too.
It is like, I want to do what everybody else does, but it's like, yeah.
Which is why
when to hold them, when to show them. You gotta know when to say no.
But you have to save them from themselves, right? So if you say do 100 uchikomis, everyone can do it except for them, then it's kind of hurts makes them not want to come back, makes them feel like shit, right? And again, it goes back to how you want to keep people doing judo. Like if you say I don't give a shit, right? If you can't do it, then if it hurts your ego, then don't do judo. Then if that's your view, then that's why America is bleeding judo players. But if you make it scalable, like I said, like as many uchikomis as you can do in 20 seconds, then next week, maybe he did one more than he did last week. Then that to him, it's a progress, right? Versus do 100. It's like, oh, I didn't do 100 again this week. Oh God. Like then it's just not very good way of doing training, I think. And just in general, like everyone's fitness level and experiences are different. And telling someone who can easily do 500 uchikomis to do 100 is nothing versus telling him to do as many as you can in 20 seconds is different. So
that's why I always like, even with my guys, I always just do stuff for time, because doing stuff for numbers is like, one, people don't count. They think they're counting, then they lose count. They're like, they hit 10 times and they're like, what? I forgot what number I'm on. It's just easier overall, in just my opinion. Just do things for 30 seconds, 1 minute. We're gonna do this for this amount of time. It's much easier. It's just easier anyways, have people do it that way.
Yeah. We talked about the health bar thing, like pay attention to roughly how many falls you can take a night. I think we already talked about it. That's really related to the intensity of the throws and the crash pads and the type of floors you have. So that's the context we needed to add. Drilling. So we talked about how too many dojos are focused on competition judo only. So there's no room for recreational adults, especially older adults, to start. So I think like we talked about how you can play basketball in your 60s at a court, just shooting free throws or like playing some slow street ball kind of fun games. But in judo, it seems to be like it's drilling and then kill each other. Yeah. Drilling and then kill each other. So
we are here to fight. That is all we're here for.
And I'm mostly taught. This is the context I wanted to clarify. Like I said, there's a lot of strength involved in Western judo, and Japanese judo seems to be lighter. And now that I've been there a couple more times, like it's not. That's a very bad. I take it back basically. So I don't think there's strength involved in both. It's just the culture of randori is very different versus there is more Japan. When I went there, a lot of it has specifically the recreational clubs, not the serious clubs like the universities, but it's a lot playful. Does that make sense? Like they're playing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And they're like having fun and trying stuff out versus every time I go do randori in the club I visit here, it's like people treat it as a win or lose situation. They're too afraid to take. Man. Well, it's like I can't fall to this guy because he's a lower belt than me. They're just only sticking to their favorite throws because they know it's going to work. Like they're too afraid to try something else. So I think it's a randori culture thing. So if you change the culture of how randori should be done in your club, then it'll be safer and more enjoyable and more productive for the older people too. And then this ties into ecological stuff we talked about. People argue about drilling, how drilling is useful or useless. And I sent you that wrestling video of the kids doing drills.
Yeah, there's
and
wrestling.
If you show that to probably most BJJ people that only do BJJ or judo people that only do judo, they're like, that's not drilling. That looks like they're playing. Like, like it's not predefined actions. It's not take the step here, then do this step, then pull, and this. It's like, okay, how would you describe that game? Like, one person starts in referee, and the other person tries and escape to the back, right? That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they're like playfully like trying to like slip to each other's back. So, I think redefining what drilling means in judo would be very productive in general and also safer. Not just for old people, but just in general. So drilling, yes, we talked about losing 40-year-olds. Oh, physical therapy. Like this is one thing that I have to push is that everyone that does sports and has pain should go to physical therapy. It like how often we briefly talked about this in that episode 34, but how often do we hear people say, I got hurt, I need to take a few weeks off, and then they just don't do anything at all.
Well,
No, not just never come back. Just like my shoulder hurts, so I'm not going to lift weights with my shoulder at all.
Yeah.
Like this is something I learned from my physical therapist and through my own experiences. If something hurts, you don't want to not move it. Does that make sense? Kind of like how someone jammed their finger and they were like wearing a brace the whole time. I'm like, why are you wearing? You're not training right now. Why are you wearing a brace? The finger, not the brace. What do you call that?
No, it's a finger brace. Yeah.
Is it a finger brace? Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a brace. A stint, maybe. I don't know.
A stint. Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay. Yeah. So,
I don't know.
I'm like, why are you wearing a finger? Why are you wearing a finger brace? And he's like, it's hurt. I'm like, yeah, but when you're not training, you don't need to protect it. You need to move it. If nothing's broken, like no bones are broken, there's no reason to brace it like that and keep it immobile. The reason you would keep it immobile is if something's broke, like a bone is broken, you want it to heal without breaking.
If it's dislocated, because I've had this happen to me before. Okay, when your finger gets dislocated, or maybe just because I had multiple dislocation on this one finger, if I don't keep it in the brace for a while, it will pop out again. And every time
that's something broken though.
No, it's dislocated. It was a dislocated. It wasn't a broken. It's dislocation, knuckle dislocation.
No, then it could be a tendon or something that's holding it that's broken. But if it's a sprain or like I said, your shoulders hurt. Like for me, it was my knee. Like if it hurts, the worst thing you can do is to keep it immobile and just sit around and do nothing. You need to basically. Previously, your knee could work at 100%, right? Or a shoulder can work at 100%, but usually injuries occur because you exceeded that 100%. So if your 100% was at a 10, right? But you did an 11, then that's when the injury occurs. So now instead of a 100%, which is a 10, you can only do 5, like 50%, right? But what most people do is like, oh, I'm gonna do 0. So instead of doing like a 4 or 5 to help raise that limit back to 100% by keeping mobility, they just drop to 0 and wait till they feel better, which means usually when they feel better, now instead of at a 10, they're at a 3. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. But but here's the thing. That's a new way of thinking. A lot of old school mentality was that, oh, I hurt my shoulder. I should immobilize my shoulder for a little while, let it heal, and then I'll stretch it down and get it better later. But the new way thing is like, yes, ice, heat, whatever your recommendation thing is for that, but keep it mobile the entire time so you don't lose mobility. You let it heal, but you do light mobility. And I know that's what, like going back to me, that's like what told me what my doctor didn't want me moving my shoulder because he wanted my muscles to heal very tight. But then the therapist like, oh, why didn't you get any movement done? Because my doctor told me not to. That's why when
I got my knee surgery, the first thing they said is that you need to make it straight. And after you're straight, you got to get it moving.
Yeah, one of my nursing friends told me the same thing. It's like, well, one, why aren't you moving your shoulders? Because my doctor told me not to. My doctor wanted me to get like really tight muscles, and it's just I don't know if it's just old school mentality or new school mentality stuff.
I will listen to the surgeon still because I'm not. But for my knee surgery, first thing they said is like, oh, after you get the surgery, you should move right away because you don't want it to be frozen, right?
Yeah,
and that's why one of the things that they recommend I get, which I didn't because insurance doesn't cover, is a mobility machine, like the thing that moves your knee back and forth.
Stuff,
yeah. So because you want to keep mobility. So yeah, this is one thing that I think we're going into the deep hole of this, right? But basically, see a physical therapist. They'll help you go through it basically and keep you fit.
But here's one of my thing also, and this goes back about being fit and like if I'm hurt and so, I'm a big proponent for stretching. I love stretching. Okay. I stretch all the damn time at home, at dojo stuff. If you hurt something like, oh, my back's hurting too much, it might be because your back's not used to being worked out that way. So after you do judo, do some back stretches, do some light stretches before judo and stuff. Stretch out that muscle, get that muscle working again. Do it like, this is going to sound kind of weird because, again, it's my own stuff. I found out that yoga helped me out a lot, stretching out my back muscles and neck muscles so that I could do more stuff, keep doing stuff so dynamically instead of just, oh, I'm just going to do brute strength, hard things, sit at home, lay down, don't do anything. No, you got to keep that stretch going, that workout going. And that's why in my classes, I do a lot of stretching to teach people these things. I try to explain why I do these stretches to help you out for these situations. This, like we said, we had a lot of parents and some people in their 40s and 50s that when they come to judo, that's their workout. That's the only workout they do. The rest of the week, the rest of the 2 or 3 days, or till next week they come, they've done nothing else instead, except for sit in cars, sit in bed, or just standing around. You have to keep your, like the whole thing, you got to keep your body in motion, stays in motion. So that's why stretching comes very important to me. And this is also why in my class, I know Anthony doesn't like this. In my class, I have my students either at the end of class, beginning of class, sometimes do some body workout with their partners, because I know a lot of these people, the only time they're gonna get the workout in is here at the dojo.
And I know think that's their fault. You know?
Yeah, that's what Anthony's like. That's your fault. You hurt me. It's like, I know the only, like certain people, I know the only time you're working out is when you come to the dojo. I know you're not doing extra running at home. I know you're not doing your extra yoga or stretching or swimming or weightlifting on your own. So at least I'm gonna get you a little bit more muscle mass, a little bit more what I call brute strength sometimes. My class, I do that in my class just so you get used to it, and maybe you'll do it on your own later. But that's the thing. You need to prepare your body and help your body heal itself. And it's stretching and doing yoga, saunas or salt baths and stuff, or Epsom salts are great things for that. And that's something like you have to take into account as you get older, you know?
Yeah.
I started taking sauna baths and Epsom salts and Japanese ones and stuff. When I was in my 30s, I started doing that stuff to help my body heal, you know? That's the thing, you gotta take care of yourself.
Yeah. I'm just going ahead and say this. Like, I also think this is different, right? Do you have anything else to add?
No. Okay, that's good. No, move on.
Yeah, a lot of people that start in their 50s or 60s that still want to compete in judo, I think they're
crazy.
They're crazy. Like literally, they're crazy. So, vast majority of them. We already talked about how vast majority of people don't want to compete in general, not just old people. So that's going to be the small percentage. So, there's nothing wrong with just doing very light controlled, even yakusoko geiko or randori, and just like doing uchikomis, nagekomis, and crash bang, calling a day, like workout. So, and then maybe get a little more competitive on the ground. So that's perfectly fine. There's another thing I want to clarify was we talked about how when you get older, you have to rely less on strength and more on technique and timing. And I think at the time, I just kind of assumed everyone would understand what I mean by technique. But I think now it's kind of like, when I said that, I think most people think, oh, there's one ideal way of doing something. But I think technique just means doing it in a safe, efficient manner for your own body. So I just think that just don't overthink the technique part. People put too much emphasis on that.
You get these beginners, and this happens with white belt teenagers, high school, college, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. This happens to everybody. Like when you first teach someone how to do ippon sonagi, everyone's always arching their back all the way back here, trying to get ippon sonagi and then pull forward. You can't do that when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s. Okay, when you're in your 20s and stuff, 30s, you may be able to muscle it through. But learn the technique. Judo is based off technique, so it's maximum efficiency, minimal effort. Okay.
Yep.
If you do it the way we teach you, the proper way, not using not being everything based on strength, trust me, you're gonna get people with this. But it's about learning how to do a proper technique. Work smarter, not harder.
So like to clarify, when I say technique, I meant like finding an efficient way of doing things with your own body and not like do it like the Kodokan does it. Because there's some throws there. I'm like, doesn't matter how old you are, you're not going to be able to do it. Like, it doesn't matter how strong you are. Well, how did I say that? It doesn't matter if the technique is right. If you're really old and have like you're 90 or 80, you're not going to be able to do it. So, like some sort of like cross step spinning ashiguruma or something, like that's your knee is going to explode. So,
well, it's like the sumikomi goshi, you know?
Yeah. So you're just going to have to find a different way for you to do it. So that's what I mean by technique, not like, oh, do it cleanly like the Kodokan demonstrates it. Like, no. This is the last thing I have. There's also the social aspect of judo that is being ignored a lot. Some people just want, like, they're retired, they just want to show up, have people like work out with their friends, like a kind of social gathering, a community to be part of kind of thing. And this is already a thing for older judokas that can't train anymore, but they're already part of the dojo, so they have that community developed already. So why can't a white belt at that same age group come in and get benefit from this too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to have like an open mat for white belts and like have them just like socialize and gather with other people, other 60, 70-year-olds that train and just do some Newaza light rolls. So have them get involved with kids. They're retired. What are they going to do? Like have them background check them and then have them help out with the kids
What
class.
are they going to do, Anthony? That's like a loaded question right there. What's the worst going to happen, Anthony? We took classes on this.
No, I'm saying what are they, I'm saying they don't have, they're retired. They have a lot of time is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So like, wait, are you going to wait till this 60-year-old gets a black belt before you let him help out with the kids class? Like,
yes, minimum need on to help with the kids.
No, but also this tends to be a thing. Old people just tend to like kids for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like grandkids and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's just the social aspect of judo is definitely untapped for some of the older judokas. Like they have the time, they have the ability to help out. So
and I think it's something that happens with, I guess, maybe American judo players and stuff, but you see like old, like you said, the Japanese videos and stuff where you went there's like a bunch of like 56-year-olds just hanging out. Like they're happy there, you know?
Yeah.
It's like how like Sensei Philippe's happy to be at the dojo. He just want to hang out there. He just want to be there for all the classes to hang out. And sometimes I guess some older people be like, oh well, if I'm not on the mat, if I'm not doing Ichikomi, if I'm not doing Randori, then I have no purpose here. I shouldn't be here. And I actually had a conversation with one of our crazy black belt senior members about that during the pandemic. He was like, you know, Juan, I'm just going to stop doing judo because if I can't practice, then what's the point of being here? It's like, no, I want you to come still because you're just fun to be
everyone
around.
is different, right? Like I said, that those are the crazy people.
Yeah, you know, he's one of those guys that's like, I want to die on the mat. I bet you do want to die on the mat. Yeah. Like your guy that one time.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, I just think there's so many things we could do. It's just people, it boils down to people choose competitive judo over being inclusive and growing judo. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it boils down to. So if you want to grow judo or you're complaining about not having enough members, then you're going to have to adapt. Yeah. So yeah.
So Anthony, that's all the things you want to discuss right there, right? All the things you want to bring up. So let me just ask you now, what are you doing in your class to be more inclusive to older members?
So I already told you we'd lose a lot of them because of what I said. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was like what I told you, a dropout rate for 50-year-olds were pretty high. 40-year-olds were pretty normal. Like it's not any worse than our 20-year-olds. So I think it's just making it fun and engaging. And also don't make them take falls they don't have to. Like the other day I was like, don't throw white belts, right? Like this is literally yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. You're saying that.
And I'm not going to go into the reason why like there was a specific reason why I wanted them. It has nothing to do with age. There's specific skill I was trying to get them to develop where I don't think it's possible or it can be done in a safe way if they threw white belts. So, I told them and people just threw anyway. Like they just did not have either the control or they think I can take the fall, you know? And one of them was the 60, how old is he? Let me check. One of them was this guy who's 61. So like
that guy's really like, he came to our dojo because he said that the other dojos have gone too easy on him. He wants hard training.
Too easy. He said, I thought it was the opposite.
He said, I remember if this is the same one we're talking about, he was that he wants to train more. He wants to train a little bit harder. He wants to get in more days and do randori.
Yeah, but again, like there's a specific reason why I had it. If he wants to take hard falls, sure, he could. Because I said you can use a crash pad. He didn't use a crash pad, so I understand. But anyway, that just shows to me he has this ego. Like I can take it, you know. When I was like, I'm sure you can, but that's not what we're working on. But anyway, so I let people decide. Like I said, I make my training scalable. Up to a certain degree, because like I said, they have to be able to survive in the other classes. So I'm giving them a glimpse, like a lower scaled down version of what happens in the other classes. And yeah, I guess if you don't like taking falls, then that's not gonna to work. And what I realize is a lot of people can't take falls. What's more important than that I guess we forgot to discuss is the people that drop out tend to, how do I word this, not have fundamental movement skills developed. And this is beyond judo at this point. I think this is just an American thing. Mostly no, I'm not even kidding. Like it's mostly an American thing where someone has never done a forward roll in their life. And this is not, I'm not even talking about 60-year-olds now. I'm talking about like 20-year-olds.
No,
like,
we got kids that can't do a somersault. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like what are you doing? It's just this whole idea of, I guess we have a really card-based culture, and kids nowadays are just indoors sticking to their video games. Like, and also it's like, oh, don't do that, you're gonna get hurt. Like, you know, like it's okay to get a little hurt. You know, you have to take some risks, but there's fundamental moving skills. Maybe this will be a different topic, but there's fundamental movement skills that everyone should have, and just a lot of adults come in without those skills. So how are you going to do judo if you don't have those skills? So that means we have to go back to making adults do what kids do in the kids class, which to them is seen as like, I'm not here for this. So I don't know. That's a problem I haven't solved. So people that quit is most likely because they've been sedentary for most of their life, and they probably don't even walk 10,000 steps a day. They just probably drive everywhere in LA, especially. Probably never played any other sport. So this is another reason why it's important to have a veterans class, I think. And also why I don't think it's a bad idea to have the older adults get involved with the kids class, because one, they can help you babysit, and two, they can do some of the stuff we're having the kids do. So let me I pulled up my notes here. So 10 basic, this is from like some child development book. But 10 basic movement skills that should be developed during childhood are balancing and falling, romping and fighting, like rough housing basically. Yeah. Moving and locomotion, jumping and landing. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to jump. Like their form is just like you've never jumped in your life. And then rolling, tumbling, and turning, throwing, catching, hitting, and aiming, kicking, shooting. Yeah, kicking, shooting, and aiming. This is why like playing people. This is why in kids class they play dodgeball and soccer and stuff like that, right? Climbing and scrambling, swinging, and then I don't know what music and motion is. I'm gonna have to look that back up, but probably rhythm skills.
Yeah, probably rhythm.
Yeah. So this is stuff that everyone should do or know how to. It's like basic skills, right? But then, like, if I have them kids do this in the kids class, the parents are like, "Why aren't we doing more uchikomis and randori?" I'm like, your kid can't even do a forward roll, and you want them to do randori? Like,
I want them to fight. I want to get a fighting and hitting part.
Yeah, so
I want more romping.
Yeah, it's fun. There's fundamental movement skills, and the problem with adults is, this is my opinion, is with adults and especially older people, they already have this set way of how I should walk, how I should. I'm an adult. I'm not going to roll around on the ground, right? And then sometimes I had my adults class. People play tag, and you'd be surprised how bad people are playing tag because it's a kids thing. I don't play tag, you know. So they lost the ability to do these kind of movement skills and learning how to dodge, learning how to roll, be upside down, how to not post the arm, like. People just need to learn to move again. So, yeah, I'm not going to deep dive into it, but that's something I noticed is just a lot of adults don't know how to move anymore. And they just need to play more, you know, just learn how to move. And that's very different from saying, I play basketball, you know, but how many basketball people can do cartwheels or whatever, you know, like it's some basic movement skills that will help you maintain mobility, keep you youthful, prevent injury, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's why my class, I always have them, like my class is very more dynamic when I do warms and stuff with somersault, reverse somersault, handstand rolls, cartwheels. I do on all stuff. But when I see someone that can't do it, I always tell them, try. Like my thing is like, I don't want you just to stop. I want you to try at least. Okay. Like I hate when people just stop. But if I see someone's gonna hurt themselves and stuff, I will tell them like, hey, calm down, stop and stuff. And I don't get a whole lot of the beginners like you do unless I'm teaching your class for you or something. I usually tend to get the guys that have passed to get to their yellow belt or get to their orange belt to get to my class or have some judo skills or some grappling skills already. My thing is I always have to watch and make sure they don't kill themselves and then calm them down. Like, hey, sit down a little bit, take a breather. Okay, I want you to do this style of technique instead. And as an instructor, knowing when to see this and when to stop and when to when to push somebody and when to hold them back a little bit.
Yeah. This is why dancing is such a good sport for older people, because it does a lot of that stuff. And again, people just need to think outside the box, like on how to develop some of these basic movement skills. Like it's not your judo footwork. Trust me, it's not your judo footwork that develops these movement skills. So
now we've been talking mostly about stuff in our classes, what a dojo could do, what a class could do. What we also have is what Sensei Philippe does. That he offers privates. And one of our other senior members, I don't think he's really that senior, but an older member does privates because he prefers that more.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, basically, I sat in on private the other day because I showed up early to help with the video and, not with a video, with someone's Nagano Kata test. And he basically expressed interest for Kata. Like, this guy just wants to take privates and wants to learn the techniques, like traditional Kodokan judo techniques, and then learn Kata. Like, but a lot of dojos don't offer that. Like, he's paying Philippe privates to do this.
Yeah.
Like, but how many dojos would do that? You know?
Exactly.
Like,
well, I'm just saying that's a way, like, if you're a senior member and you're looking to get in judo and you're really nervous about, like, I don't want to train the entire class. Like, I don't have much great, like you said, great motor skills. I've never done judo before, never done grappling before, but I'm really interested in learning judo. Maybe contact the dojo, be like, do you guys offer private classes? And if you do offer private classes, do I have to bring a partner with me, or are you going to supply a partner, or is it one of those? Because it's really here, because I've done privates too, where it's just me and another person, and it's really hard to teach somebody how to throw when it's just you and them. You really do need a third person there.
I'll argue it's getting dangerously close to Aikido, like the methods. But I mean, there is a market for older people to like. Again, you could just teach them techniques, have them take falls, and then do kata. Like, that's perfectly fine. A lot of retired judokas do that. So why can't like new old judokas do that?
Yeah, one of my old
just don't understand.
Sensei Bob, Lord, rest in peace, Sensei Bob. That was his old joke always when I started training with him. Like, old judo players, we can't get thrown no more. We can't throw. We go into Aikido, and I'm like, okay, Sensei. He didn't. He just retired from judo. He's another one that just, well, if I can't do judo no more, I'm going to just straight retire. Like, no, Sensei, don't go, please.
Yeah, and I will say this. Like, there's a lot of kata. The way that kata community is, at least from what I see, is very rigid in their own ways. So it's not ideal, but I just think there's room for growth in this area. I still think that is how we grow judo in America, not by catering to kids, because catering kids just his parents forcing them to do it. It's not really the kids wanting to do it. But you just need to change the judo culture so that it's cool to do judo for the rest of your life. It's a actual lifelong thing, even if you don't compete.
Yeah.
But then comes the ranking. The belt ranking thing is like a different story, right? Because now you're going to argue, well, are you saying that people who started in their 60s and only do kata can get their black belt? I'm like,
yes,
that's a different thing.
Black belt. I will.
Yeah.
Not all black belts are created equal. Okay, and you should all know that already. All right, in every martial art.
Yeah, and that goes back to why I said I just think the way we see black belt in the West is just not the same as how they see it in Japan, which is a shame. Yeah.
Which is not the same way they see it in Europe, which is not the way they see it in Africa. It's not the same way they see it in South America.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, is there anything else you want to talk about? I feel like we're getting depressing now all of a sudden, but hey, judos are everyone. Don't stop. Keep going. If you're interested
judo's for everyone.
Find a dojo.
If it interests you. Let's
if it
say that.
If it interests you.
Because we have some kids that are being forced by their parents to do judo, and and then Eric told me, like, judo's not for everyone. I'm like, Yeah, it's for everyone that wants to do judo. It's not for everyone, because you see a lot of people saying, well, I want to do judo, I like it, but the training's too rough or whatever, right? So I agree, like judo's for everyone. You should be able to scale it, but it's not for everyone because some people just aren't interested in it. I can't force my wife to do judo, you know?
Oh yes,
like,
you can. Get up in the morning, ha honey, wham, one throw, ashiwaza, then go for the choke afterwards.
Yep. It's slow, so people really need to think about the do part of judo, like the way and the lifestyle part of it, and not just the sport, and even the martial aspect of it, not just the self-defense aspect of it. And not going to get into self-defense because I hate that topic. So
all right, so with that, please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on, what's the other one? Threads. I was about to say X, but we don't have X. We don't support X no more. Okay. X is bad. All right. You want to follow me? You follow me at @Jerry_1 Instagram. You follow Anthony. Anthony throws on Instagram, but don't tag him on nothing because he won't accept it.
I accepted it. I don't know what you're talking about.
He didn't accept it. All right. If you have any questions, things you want us to talk about, things you want us to go over, send to Anthony some more things, you hit us up to TatamiTalk@gmail.com. All right, Anthony. Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
Nope.
All right. Oh, and let us know if you want to do like us do like a was it the blog or a website
the
or
Substack thing,
Substack or something?
Newsletter.
Yeah, a newsletter, a magazine, you know. It's an underground judo magazine for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, please don't forget to
contribute to your retirement fund every year. Max out your 401k and your Roth IRA.
Do your Roth IRA. Don't do 401k. That's a bad idea. Just invest
if you have a 401k.
500.
All right, and slap the mat. Yeah.